Hello everybody, my name is VIXIE and welcome back to the Gameazons channel. I have not been here in for freaking ever. If you guys have still been watching the channel, watching Joanna and Sockie do their great videos, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. I'm super glad to be back. I did try to record a cat lateral damage video. I even beat an objective for you guys, but the video got so messed up. Also, technically, this is going to be part 2 of Asphyxia. I've already played this, but with the losses that caused me to lose the new cat lateral damage video, I also lost part 2 of this one. So I'm doing it over, so I can't really pretend I don't sort of know what's going to happen, but it was also ages ago, so I have a terrible memory and I don't really remember. We're gonna get right into playing. I don't know, I might talk a bit about what's been up with me, but let's just play first. Maybe I'll talk about stuff later. Let's go straight into this as our returning, triumphant, depressing arse game. Let's go. DeQuincy, our little blue-haired jellyfish baby. Ah, I'm finally free. Samantha couldn't help but note that DeQuincy sounded a great deal more chipper than she had looked on the coach earlier. DeQuincy's smile was wide, her eyes sparkling. It seemed she had already recovered from poor Hannah's untimely death. Oh, Hannah. Samantha sighed. Why had she assumed there was something gravely wrong with DeQuincy anyway? Lillian was right. She really did have a morbid imagination, always assuming the worst like that. Alright, DeQuincy, don't go running off on your own. I am a teacher, not a shepherd, and I have no desire to hunt down any errant students who may stray from my flock. Yes, miss. And the same goes for the rest of you. Miss Pope turned to face the congregation of St. Mary's students, her hands on her hips. Sassy. If any of you get lost, I am not going to trouble myself over it. You're not in primary school anymore. You are old enough now to take some responsibility for your actions. Yes, miss. Yes, miss. Yes, miss. Yes, miss. A dull chorus of voices answered back, fronted by DeQuincy. Why did she sound so cheerful? Was it because she had an excuse to hang around Lillian for 2 whole days and maybe even gasp, shock, scandal, see her in her pajamas? Oh my goodness, we're getting strawberry panic up in here. DeQuincy had always loved Lillian. She was borderline obsessed, and the border was growing thinner and thinner with every passing day. Although Samantha knew Lillian did not particularly care for DeQuincy, Lillian did not particularly care for anybody save her younger brother, it still stung. She couldn't help but feel jealous. Oh, and Tatch, look at those hard pupils. Sailor Moon style. Why was DeQuincy allowed to link arms with Lillian anyway? At least the unimpressed look on Lillian's face was so evident, even Samantha, standing several feet away, was able to spot it. Though Samantha couldn't hear what Lillian was saying, she saw the blonde girl shake DeQuincy away as one would remove a spider from the sleeve of their cardigan. Lillian's efforts, however, were in vain. As soon as she managed to free herself from DeQuincy, the girl started clinging to her arm again like a second skin. Why are you being so cold, Lily? I thought we were friends. Miss DeQuincy. DeQuincy jumped. Yes? What is it, miss? Far be it from me to criticize your youthful zeal, but I fear you may be distracting some of your classmates. Could you please keep your hands to yourself? DeQuincy's cheeks turned light pink. She smiled bashfully and dug the tip of her shoe into the ground, tracing semicircles into the dirt. Yes, miss. As Miss Pope lectured DeQuincy on her poor conduct, Lillian took this as an opportunity to disentangle her arm from DeQuincy's and walk away. Lillian, so cold, Ice Queen. And while we're on the subject, something else is bothering me. Why do you never button up your shirt? Gotta let those girls have some freedom with that cross that's on them. Oh, schoolgirls, what even? Well, I suppose it's because I'm opposed to the fascist system that's keeping all of us students squashed underfoot. I want to show everyone I'm not just another cog in the machine, you know? That is literally the best justification for cleavage I've ever heard in my life. Because I am not a cog in the wheel, Ms. Alexandra. Step off. While I applaud your efforts, school is not, as many teachers will try to tell you, a place young people go to nurture their unique talents. It's a place where young people are sent against their will so they can learn how to follow orders and do as they are told. Anybody who informs you otherwise is a liar. Wow. Forgive me if I'm being rude, but you sound a little bitter, miss. Forgive me if I'm being rude, but girl, you salty. If I sound bitter, it's because I am. Like you, De Quincy, I thought, when I was young and foolish, that I was an individual, and should therefore be allowed to express myself as such. I even dabbled in poetry. Can you imagine it? Poetry. Well, you are an English teacher. Indeed. And do you know what kinds of people become English teachers? De Quincy pondered, an awkward smile on her face. The kinds of people who aspire to become published authors or poets, but fail to achieve their goals? Exactly. When I entered the working world, I became far more cynical. You come to school to do your exams, get good results, and boost our school's reputation, and teachers who care about their students beyond what is written on a few slips of paper are few and far between. Well, if you only care about my results, how I dress shouldn't matter, should it? Nice try, De Quincy, but that isn't going to cut it with me. You might be smart, but that doesn't amount to much if you only show up to half of your lessons. Gosh darn it. Perhaps I could overlook your flagrant misconduct if you applied yourself more seriously, but as it is, I'll have to ask you to button up your shirt. Yes, miss. And can you do something about your hair in the future? The color is hardly school regulation. But it took me 3 hours to dye it this color. And it will take me less than 3 minutes to chop it all off with a pair of scissors. Oh, buddy, she's like an awful teacher, like abusive teacher. Awful. Terrible. Is that what you would prefer? I could always buy a wig. Would that be acceptable? You may do whatever you like, so long as you can stop it from being so blue. Yes, miss. Oh, Alexandra. Fired. I'm firing her. Finished with the rebellious De Quincy, Miss Pope turned her eagle eye towards Samantha. Samantha was straggling along at the rear of the group, her face pale, one hand on her stomach. From a distance, she almost looked like a wounded war hero. Okay. Limping away from the carnage of the battlefield to find an undisturbed place to die. Dramatic. On closer inspection, however, she looked like what she truly was, a foolish girl who had ingested far too much caffeine, far too quickly, and now was suffering the consequences. Miss Pope, being Miss Pope, had no sympathy. Burn. Samantha had been making these tortured noises for the past 10 minutes or so. Each small utterance that escaped her lips was, invariably, coupled with a gurgle from her stomach. She wasn't going to be sick, was she? She really, sincerely hoped she wasn't. Not on her geography field trip, in front of her class. That would be so humiliating. Roberta looked at her, half sympathetic, half smug. Oh, Mom Berta. It seemed she had gotten over her momentary irritation on the coach, perhaps because Samantha now looked so dreadful. Are you alright? I feel like I'm gonna be sick. Well, I did warn you. But by that point, it was already far too late. You look even sicker now than you did when you drank all that absinthe. Don't even talk to me about absinthe. I've learned my lesson. I really thought I was gonna die back then. I even started to write out my will. It was probably because you were drunk. Of course, that only made me feel even more terrible when I realized how few friends I have to distribute my unimpressive amount of personal belongings to. How nice. It was the exact opposite of nice. I felt awful. Then why did you drink it? Because I'm young? I wanted to try new experiences, broaden my horizons, strengthen my mind with absinthe. Girl. But all you strengthened was your gag reflex. Samantha wrapped her arms around her stomach even tighter and hiccuped. I'm not gonna hiccup for you guys, forget it. It was a hiccup that brought with it the strong taste of bile, sharply acidic, and she had to swallow it back down with tears in her eyes. Oh, good times. Even though she had finally made it back to her beloved countryside, she couldn't bring herself to enjoy her surroundings. Partially, that was because of her stomach, but it also could have been the miserable weather. Ooh, the pretty background. It was an overcast March day, and the sky was dark and cloudy, promising rain. So, March. I was born in March. I was raised in March.
Oh, you think March is your ally. You merely adopted March. I was born in it, molded by it.
Sorry, I'm done. It's fine. I'm a March baby. It rains a lot in March, just a thing. The wind was cold, stinging Samantha's cheeks so they turned red. March. The ground was at a steep incline, and walking up it was tiring. The constant thud, thud, thud of Samantha's feet as her shoes met the uneven earth made her stomach gurgle even more. She just had to keep going. 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot... Question mark, question mark, question mark. Hey. Sup, girl? How you doing? Samantha blinked, tugging anxiously at the hem of her skirt. Ooh. Hey. The person standing before her was the very last person she had expected to see, despite her being in her class and on this field trip and her literally seeing her already on the coach. Sorry. It was Lillian. Roberta frowned, looking at Lillian in much the same way as a disaffected medical student, bored from endless dissections, might regard a corpse. Oh my god, Roberta. Yes? Yes? What do you want? I want the pair of you to pick up the pace. You're slowing the rest of us down, and Miss Pope is growing impatient. That may be the case, but what authority do you have to berate us, Lillian? Look at Roberta's angry eyebrows, girl. I have every authority. I am the head of the student council. Classic. As you should be aware, given you're the treasurer. We've attended enough meetings together that I thought you would remember, or else is my face so very nondescript that you forgot? No, that isn't it. The passive aggression between the two girls was almost tangible. You could have cut it with a knife. Samantha gulped. This time, it wasn't because she felt sick. Though Roberta and Lillian had a great deal in common, Samantha thought so, at any rate, but she knew full well both girls would have disagreed with her. The pair had never really gotten along. Their enmity was not immediately obvious to the untrained eye, given they were always rigidly polite when they spoke to one another, but their voices were cold, stretched taut over several years' worth of tension. I'm surprised that you're speaking to us at all, Miss Student Council President. I thought you would have better things to do. I do. How charming. I could say the same to you. You could at least thank me for my concern. Thank you for your concern, Lillian. Oh my god, these girls are so passive-aggressive. I suppose that's fine. Lillian looked Samantha over for a few moments, her expression inscrutable, eyes piercing. Girl, you already said hey. Hey. Samantha jumped as though she had been poked with a pin. She had not expected Lillian to address her, even though she had not used her name. Given Lillian had been ignoring her pointedly for almost 3 months, it seemed rather strange that she would choose to engage in conversation right now. Despite that, Samantha attempted to keep her cool. She blinked, eyelashes fluttering, and tried to meet Lillian's gaze. Just, yes? Senpai? You're not ignoring me. Senpai noticed me. Ah! Tried and failed. Samantha clenched her hands into fists at her side, trying to stop them from shaking, and spoke. Yes? What is it? You look rather unwell. Is there some kind of problem? Look at her blush, poor embarrassed baby. I'm fine. Are you sure? Well, Samantha bit her lower lip. Her hands, balled into fists by her side, started to tremble. What should she say? Oh, we have another choice. This one is like mostly a visual novel, so I feel like I don't get a lot of choices to like make decisions. It's just a lot. It's like a lot of prose and a lot of storytelling, so this is exciting. What should she say? I thought you were ignoring me. I really did miss you. It's nothing, don't worry. Okay, one of those is about the actual conversation. The other two are like super forward, like, hey, you feeling sick? Girl, I missed you. Thanks for talking to me. I love you. Marry me, please. That one's kind of sassy. I don't know. Do I want to like ignore the situation? Let's be super forward. I believe in good communication, so she's just gonna say what she's thinking. I'm sorry if I've been acting strangely, Lily. Samantha's fond nickname for Lillian slipped out of her mouth, unbidden, even though she had intended to keep her distance. She didn't want to get hurt again. When she was with Lillian, however, she couldn't help it. What little common sense she possessed fled from her, and she was incapable of exercising any kind of self-control. In that sense, perhaps she was like Sleeping Beauty, not just the singular Sleeping Beauty, but every single incarnation of the character, from Charles Perrault's Belle to the Briar Rose of the Brothers Grimm. Though Sleeping Beauty had touched thousands of spindles across thousands and thousands of retellings, reworkings, and reimaginings, she never strayed from her preordained course and could never learn from her past mistakes. Sleeping Beauty had no will of her own, after all. She was just a character forced into the role of the helpless maiden, the slumbering princess, by the whims and wishes of others. Samantha could relate to that. She often felt she herself had so little control over her own life, she may as well have been a figment, a construct, a hazy and ephemeral imagining pushed hither and thither by invisible hands. Maybe she was just overthinking it, though. She often did. And that was precisely why she was so very unhappy. Girl, you're overthinking it now. Literally, girl, I missed you. Like, how hard is that? Girl. I can't help myself. I've missed you so terribly these last 3 months, after all. Samantha's words were spoken softly, threatening to disperse amongst the whirling wind, yet they were heavy with emotion. Roberta, I love that Roberta's just like still standing over there like, girl, don't do it. Samantha winced. She didn't like how she sounded. Even to her own ears, she sounded far too desperate. Girl. Lillian evidently seemed to think so too, for her eyebrows furrowed. I'm flattered that you missed me, Samantha, but now is not the time or the place. No, I suppose it isn't. What? So that's all you have to say, is it? Yes, that's all. Even though Samantha is supposed to be your friend. Exactly. She's supposed to be my friend. This is between her and I, not you. Oh, a little mouth, Roberta. I love you. You're a little too sad. You're a little extra, but I love you. Of all the nerve. At any rate, I just wanted to tell you to pick up the pace. That's all. Right. Sure. That was what she said out loud, but inwardly, Samantha cursed herself. Why had she allowed herself to hope? It only made being shot down, and so quickly too, all the more painful. Being rejected always stung. Samantha supposed she should have been used to it, given how unceremoniously her own mother had packed her off to boarding school, but it still hurt nonetheless. For a few moments, Samantha forgot she was trying not to be sick. Now, instead, she was faced with a new task, trying not to cry. Girl, you put your heart out there. There's nothing you can do about it. Lillian seems to be a jerk. Roberta's great, but she's also kind of a jerk. She's like the person you like, I think, if you're not friends with them, but then if you're friends with them, you're kind of like, oh, girl, don't tell me what to do. You're not my real mom, Roberta. De Quincy. Miss, do you know if we're nearly there yet? More or less. I believe the youth hostel is only a 10-minute walk away. Ah, that's good. My feet were starting to hurt. However, it would be a shame to turn in this early, wouldn't it? It's not even 3 p.m. yet. A collective murmur of disappointment resounded throughout the group of assembled girls. After their 4-hour coach journey, coupled with the 2-hour walk, most of the girls were tired, already prepared for a good night's sleep. Miss Pope smiled sweetly because she's an actual dick. Truly, it was the smile of an angel. Now then, this would not be a proper school trip unless there was an itinerary of exciting academic activities lined up, would it not? Another groan. Come now, don't sound so disheartened. Learning is fun, isn't it? That was why you agreed to go on this trip, right? It certainly wasn't because we wanted a free holiday, was it, Miss De Quincy? No, of course not. Samantha noticed that De Quincy still had not buttoned up her shirt. Girl, live your life. Maybe Miss Pope didn't care anymore. Despite her authoritarian ways, she could be rather fickle. Anyway, I will be handing the worksheets out to you now. They have tasks printed on them that you must complete within the hour. Ah, but before that, there is something I need to do. How silly of me to forget. Everybody, stand still and be quiet for a few moments. In less than a second, the chatter of the St. Mary's girls died down. The silence was so sudden it was unsettling, as though the cluster of girls in their light blue uniforms had been sucked into a void. Dramatic. Nobody argued with Miss Pope, not when she spoke like that. Even Georgia Byron, the real lady by birth, fell silent mid-conversation with Persephone Shelley. Good. Her lips pursed, Miss Pope did a quick head count. Now that I've ascertained you're all here, I'm going to divide you into groups of 4. And yes, I am aware we have an odd number of students. Thank you, Miss De Quincey. Despite being an English teacher, I can still do primary level mathematics, incredible though that may seem. So that will be 5 groups of 4 and 1 group of 3. Now, let me see. Look at that, evil expression. Which of these girls hate each other? Let me group them together. Control their tiny baby lives. Make them have a terrible time in the woods, in the fields, hanging out with the people they hate the most. Nice, Alexandra, nice. How am I going to divvy you up? At these dreaded words, the students of St. Mary's began to cluster together, clinging to one another as though for dear life. Oh, I remember that life. Oh, I remember it well. Samantha noted that, once more, De Quincey had wrapped her arm firmly around Lillian's. The sight stung rather more than it should have. Did De Quincey have no concept of personal boundaries? Perhaps not, given what had happened over Christmas. No, that was a bad thought. Samantha didn't want to think about that. Her stomach was hurting enough as it was. She didn't want to make her head hurt, too. Oh, you girls. Miss Pope snorted, surveying her students with undisguised disdain. You're all so predictable. Are you really that afraid of being separated from your best friends? It'll only be for 2 days. Where's your sense of adventure? I always thought an integral part of any school trip was to have new experiences, to interact and form bonds with others you'd normally avoid. Isn't that right? Although she spoke with a sweet smile, there was something sinister lurking under the surface of her expression. Samantha shivered. She knew Miss Pope well, and she was well aware of how sadistic she could be. Miss Pope always seemed to take a great delight in setting group tasks during her English lessons, just so she could watch with amusement at the chaos that inevitably unfurled when she made girls who hated one another work together. Miss Pope's stature wasn't the only childish thing about her. She experienced the same ill-gotten glee when it came to causing lesser living beings pain and misery that small children did when they set ants on fire through magnifying glasses or cut worms in two with their mother's sewing scissors. Ugh, don't cut worms in two with sewing scissors. That's terrible. This was not going to end well. This was not going to end well at all. And, as Samantha had feared, she had been right. She was always right about the things she didn't want to be right about. That was just further proof that the world was a cruel place. Oh my god, she's so cute, Little Red Riding Hood over there. Georgia, oh yeah, I remember from when I played through before, I remember her. She's funny and awful. Get your body ready. I can't believe I got grouped with you. The feeling is more than mutual. How can a feeling be more than mutual? I know you want to one-up me, Bobby, but that kind of hyperbolic exaggeration doesn't exactly make any sense. If you want to correct people, do it over YouTube. I'm not in the mood. Oh? I thought you would be happy, Bobby. And what exactly should I be happy about? Why, that I was trying to teach you something new, of course. Education is very important. Being from Bristol, you probably didn't have much in the way of it during your younger years. Where I'm from is completely irrelevant. As if a person like you could have anything to teach me. Georgia Byron smirked, her pointed incisors on prominent display. Sometimes Samantha wondered, did Georgia file her teeth as other people filed their nails just to make them that sharp? They couldn't have been natural, could they? If they were, Samantha felt incredibly sorry for Georgia's mother. She must have been quite the handful as a baby. Or mouthful, rather. Are you trying to talk down to me? You? Perhaps I am. What of it? I hope you haven't forgotten, Bobby, that I am Lady Georgia Gabriella Byron, the 6th Baroness Byron. Of course I haven't forgotten, and it's unfortunate, too. If I could, I would erase every single memory I have of ever interacting with you. Oh, jealousy can be a very bitter pill to swallow, can't it? Why would I be jealous of you? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because I am a real lady, and you're nothing but the daughter of a milliner from Bristol. Milliner? How rude. What does that mean? I've never heard that word before. Hold on. Like, what is that word? Milliner, a person who makes or sells women's hats. Okay, alright, cool. But sometimes it's necessary to say rude things to stop certain people having delusions of grandeur. Okay, my computer went ape and my audio cut out, so everything's good now. I'm back. I've returned. We now know that a milliner is someone who makes or sells women's hats, and apparently that's very offensive. Georgia smirked unpleasantly. With one single swift motion, she moved forwards, bringing her face within inches of Roberta's. Too close. Ma'am, stay in your own bubble. What are you doing? Get away from me. I'm just thinking. Georgia giggled, taking a few strands of Roberta's hair between her fingers. Girl, personal space. Roberta's hair was soft to the touch and a rather pretty color too. Under a bright light, it was like marmalade. Now, however, given the sky was overcast and the sun was shrouded by clouds, it was more like burnt sugar. Burnt sugar. Just because you know how to use a curling iron doesn't mean you're a lady, TM. You might have a pretty face, but that won't last for long. My title, however, is something I can never lose. Also, you're possibly a vampire, so your pretty face might last forever because you're possibly undead. Probably undead. Even if you're not in the story, my headcanon is that she's literally a vampire. I'm always going to be superior to you, no matter how long you spend fussing over your hair each morning. So if I were you, I would think a little bit more seriously about how you address me in the future, my dear Roberta. And with another poisonous giggle, I'm not giggling, Georgia released her hold on Roberta's hair. It was what? Exciting? Thrilling? Did it make your heart skip a beat? No, it wasn't. You pushed it too far this time, Byron. I know I did. It's what I do. The real question is, how are you going to respond? I await with bated breath for your, no doubt, incredibly witty response. Like, I want to hate Georgia, but she's, like, really funny. She's terrible. Oh, her little tears. I'm sorry, Roberta. What was that? I didn't hear you. Surely you aren't going to let me get away with it, are you? You have to say something. If you don't, it'll only confirm my saddest suspicions that you really are an insipid bore with no capacity for imagination. Right, that does it. Stomp over, punch her. Roberta, stop. If Roberta really did hit Georgia, any hope at forming some kind of peace treaty, no matter how tentative, would have been destroyed in seconds. Roberta, don't. It's just what she wants. Are you saying I want to be punched? You think I'm a masochist like you? I just dislike confrontations, that's all. Especially when they're as needless as this. We won't get anything done this way, and I don't want to watch you two abuse each other. Samantha had to think very carefully, wording her sentences with precision. Georgia was the kind of person to pick up on the smallest of openings in conversation and then exploit and open them up for her own amusement. Unfortunately, you would prefer it if you were the one being abused instead, right? She had not been careful enough. Isn't that why you've been chasing after Lillian for so long, even though she doesn't want anything to do with you? Samantha winced. Lillian was a painful subject matter, and having it dredged up like this when she'd been trying so hard to push it to the very back of her mind smarted. It's hard to push it to the back of your mind when you literally had a confrontation with her like 10 minutes ago. I don't know why you like Lillian so much myself. I've always thought she's exceedingly pompous and self-serving. She irritates me. Everyone irritates you, Byron. Then perhaps, though it pains me to admit it, we have a few things in common after all. Sam, on the other hand, You just can't help yourself, can you? Lillian could break all your fingers and you would still thank her for it. Don't you think that's kind of pathetic? The insults leveled at herself didn't hurt Samantha. She often thought far crueler things about herself after all, but those directed at Lillian did. She could not simply stand there while Georgia insulted Lillian, could she? Could she? Bum bum bum! You'll find out next time, because literally we're a half an hour into this story again. I think the story is only going to be about 6 parts, because from what I looked at, it seems like it's only about 3 hours of gameplay. Mind you, that's based on people playing it and not reading it out loud, so it could be 8 parts, because it does take a lot longer to, like, dictate or, like, read a story out loud, rather than you guys, like, you know, when you read and you, like, click through really fast. So it might be longer. I am having fun. You might have noticed toward the end, I started kind of paraphrasing. The wording is like really outside of the way I talk, and I also think it's outside of the way, like at least in North America, that like most people naturally speak, which is totally fine. It's really well written, but I'm gonna kind of informalize the language a little bit, just because otherwise I may actually not be able to make it through this game, because I find it really frustrating to have to talk in that way, because it's a lot easier to read in your head, but when you say it out loud, it feels like a little bit stilted, which is fine. Again, the story is great so far, but I just, for the sake of my sanity in playing this game and the longevity of the series, and to be able to get to the end, I really have to informalize the language. So if I'm saying it different than what's on the screen, it's not because I'm not paying attention, it's a deliberate decision. I'm really glad I got to do another video for the Gameazons channel. I'm really glad to be back. This is really exciting. Also, if you're watching this video, thank you so much. I know it's kind of a long video, but it is a visual novel, so I feel like with visual novels, it makes more sense to just watch a bigger section in chunks. And like I said in the last video, if you want to like, if you're an illustrator or a writer and you want to like draw or write and just like listen to the story, you can always do that, because you don't really need the visuals on the screen. I'll just tell you the story and it'll be a good time. Also, I regularly comment on their facial expressions, so thank you so much for checking out the Gameazons channel. If you had a good time watching this video, you can always check out Joanna or Sockie's videos. There's tons of them up right now. If you want to check out more of my videos, this is really the only really recent one. There will be a link to part 1 of this video if for some reason you want to go back and watch it. I don't know. I will be posting weekly from here on out. I think I'm posting on Thursdays, but if you follow me on social media, I will be posting about it. If you want to follow the Gameazons group on social media, all of our links are down below. You can click it, and if you're having a good time, go check out other videos, and if you like them too, please subscribe to us. We would love to have you in our little Gameazons family. Okay, I will see you guys in the next slightly depressing edition of Asphyxia. Bye! Bye, recycle truck. Bye. Bye. Be gone. Yeah, okay. Okay, the truck's gone. I did that. That was me.